بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين سيدنا محمد الصادق الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Actually, I am very glad to join to this virtual conference, Halal Conference, International Halal Conference, to share our experience, to get some feedback, to get some extra information, maybe to get benefit for all of us. And all this one, of course, will be on benefit to Muslim Ummah and the whole humanity. Just to introduce myself, I am Dr. Zeiad. I am Dr. Zeiad Amjad Abdul Razzaq from University of Islam Sultan Sharif Ali, Nigara, Brunei, Darussalam, academic in Halalan Thayyiban Research Center. And also I am the head of postgraduate program in this center. But I am originally from Iraq. Today I'm going to talk about my topic. Actually is more go to general, but it's for nowadays debate or arguments. It's about concepts on stunning of animals and birds. So this presentation will be just provide a background, not very intensive, because if we talk about stunning, about slaughtering, this one will take many presentations, many days also, and many workshops to achieve this one. But just to give outlines of the topic. So as we know, the issue of stunning and slaughtering, especially for the Muslims or following the traditional or the Islamic procedure in perform slaughtering, will be our main content of this presentation, which is related to the slaughter of animals and birds in slaughterhouses. For example, methods of how to animal lost its conscious or stunning with the slaughter of animals and birds. Actually, all of us know that we should give the consumers clear idea, transparent idea, because they are the one who will consume and the one who will purchase. By right, some majority of traders of meat, they do not focus, or they try to intentionally make the consumer not know, the consumers not know. They sometimes maybe highlight about their production, about their type of animals. They will talk about many things but they will not focus on how the consumers got the meat to consume. I mean that the real procedure, the specific procedure for getting this meat. So it's necessary all means of stunning and loss of consciousness in slaughter in Western countries has been imposed by law, which is, of course, they have their own law and they have the right to do their law. But the problem is, it's found that this legislation got its way to some slaughterhouses of Muslim countries. That's the problem, because as I mentioned, maybe some European countries, they have their own idea. But for us as a Muslims, it's compulsory for us to seek or maintain halal integrity during the whole supply chain, for any products, either food products or non-food products. And slaughter process is the main procedure to get one of the main item of the food, which is meat. And unfortunately, also many fatwas from some muftis has been issued on this matter. With this, it is necessary for the mufti to observe in this era and to have a clear religious track, which can take into account modern requirements without violating the Islamic principles. Yani, for example, uh, let's say talking about Hajj. Hajj has been performed during Rasulullah until now. Last time they performed Hajj using camels, using animals, or they walk to reach their destination. But now they can use any type of transportation. It's still allowed. That means there is no changing in the, but I mean the Hajj should be same practice, same requirements, same commands that can to get real Hajj. Same like animal slaughter. For your information, I'm very sure if the issue of stunning is one of the idea from the time of Rasulullah and his followers, they can do stunning. They can do stunning, very easy for them. They can use the stone, they can use hammer. So that's mean stunning is not recommended. Stunning is not recommended once we are following the tradition of Rasulullah. For European Parliament, we need to show them, because you know now the debate about how to ban slaughter, halal slaughter, or yeah. So we need to provide them with some scientific research, some scientific work that we are performing the correct procedure. Because this parliament seeks to vote for the prohibition of the slaughter of animals and birds in slaughterhouses by traditional means. This is according to religious guidelines. This vote is considered a step to make Islamic halal slaughter is illegal. Yani they want to ban this one and make it illegal, which is not aligned with the requirements for to fulfill the requirements to maintain the halal integrity on how to get really halal food, which is meat, for example, in this case. So most of the international halal standards, unfortunately, contain in their clauses religious violations, especially when authorizing in some of its article the use of stunning methods. I do not like to name what type of standard, but I think you have idea. You are as involved in halal, so that's why they put in their standards about the stunning. They allow, or maybe they close one eye about the issue of a traditional or the prophetic procedure in slaughtering. Actually, there are four main themes that one must address when dealing with slaughtering of animals and birds for food consumption. First, we should take care and we should be very particular in religious requirements, because we are, as Muslims, we are following Sharia law, and anything which attach or against Sharia, this one will not be halal or permissible for us as Muslims to consume. The second issue also, we need to care about the human safety and hygienic and health of the human. And the other thing, which is related to the animals, we need to take care about animal welfare. And this achieved by when we put in our consideration that we are dealing with live creatures. When I say live creatures, so that means it is only the right from the creator to give legislation how to get the soul of these live creatures. And because the human being is the best of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so Allah gives the authority for Muslims to take soul of these animals for the benefit of the human. That's why we need to be very particular following religious requirements and the tradition of Rasulullah. It is worth mentioning that religious instructions in slaughtering, especially from Islamic perspective, calls upon the safety and health of man and welfare for the animal. Also, the religious requirements for food are clear, very clear in Al-Quran and according to the traditions of our Rasul, peace be upon him, alayhi salatu wassalam. Also, another divine religions such as Christianity or Judaism, there is also clear religious requirement from them, because we know that religious requirements will not be changed but modified. We should go the same track, the same requirement, but we can modify. As I mentioned before, for example, the Hajj or the traditional slaughter of Rasulullah. So we cannot, for example, for us as Muslims, we cannot do the backbone cut for the animal. It should be from front of the animal. That's why modification allow. We can, for example, restrain the animals whom slaughtered using the restrainer. Last time they used the rope. Now we have advanced, so we can use the restrainer. There is no objection about using restrainer in the. I am very sure there is no Muslim jurist or Muslim consumer or anyone work in the field of science or Sharia will object about using restrainer to control the animal before the slaughtering to reduce the suffering of the animal. So that's why I said always religious requirement can modify but cannot change. We cannot change the religious requirement because it is the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Okay, so some of the religious requirements is, for example, to follow a specific way when you slaughter in terms of slaughtering. Or also, we should be very human, or we should not be very cruel in getting this one. We should put in our mind, the animal welfare when we take or obtain the food from these animals or birds. And also, it's prohibition for us to eat pork or to eat meat from dead animals, al-mayta. And also, we cannot consume blood. This one very clear in Al-Quran, Surah Al-Ma'idah, Surah Al-Baqarah, many verses in the same chapter. It's very clear. And then to some extent, in some of these divine religions, to avoid drinking alcohol. Okay? So coming back to the law in European countries is required that all the animals or birds must undergo pre-slaughter method, which is stunning. The reason, the justification for them that to render them as unconscious or dead before they bleed. This one, in their idea, so as not to feel pain when slaughtering. Actually, there is many procedures for slaughtering for the animals, either ruminant or poultry, so which followed by Western countries. One of them is captive bolt or mushroom gun, non-penetrative captive bolt. The first one, penetrative captive bolt. The second one, non-penetrative captive bolt. Or we use electrical stunning, such as using water bath stunning with the poultry, or electrical shock with the sheep or goats, and also killing using gas stunning or gas mixture of carbon dioxide and helium to stun the animals. And there is another procedure which Dr. Alison Small mentioned to it, using the gas, but it's not, I think, now under experimentation. They use the hot gas, which is not less than, the temperature of the gas between 45 and 50 Celsius. So 45, why? Because they will sure that this one will be effective temperature, and more than 50, this one maybe will consider or will cause protein denaturation for the brain, for example. So they specify the temperature of the hot air for 45 to 50 Celsius degree. According to many scientific research, which is done not from just Muslims, for non-Muslims also. Stunning method will causes external and internal injuries to the animal or birds. And under certain conditions, they make them to not have a conscious or stable life after that. They try many times. When they stun the animal, it will not come to its normal life after the time for example, 3 minutes, 2 minutes for stunning, or it may cause major health damage or direct death, especially with the fragile birds. Because they have a standard for the electricity, but we cannot get standard anymore. We cannot get standard in terms of the weight, in terms of the feathering, in terms of the fat content, the subcutaneous fat, and so far so on. So it is also a requirement of the European legislation 1099 in 2009 for electrocution in the slaughtering is recommended of the fatal or fatal shock, which is mean stun to kill. So the criteria for stunning with electrical shock is very critical and must be accurate in terms of its numerical values. And it's also difficult. Definitely it is very difficult, or we can say impossible, to ensure 100% halal control to birds or of birds with electrical stunning. Because of some reason, before I go to some reasons, I do not like to mention to the name. In 2015, when I was in Halal Product Research Institute, I was doing my postdoctoral research. I met one of the most famous scientists in animal physiology, and he is very specific in issue of stunning. Then I told him, Prof, can you guarantee me that there is no, or 100%, there is no death cases during the stunning? He said, no, I cannot mention to that. There should be some death cases in the stunning. I cannot tell you that 100% there is no death cases in the animals. Okay, coming back to the reasons why we cannot. So it is difficult to control the stunning in the slaughterhouse, regardless of their many values, for the following reasons. So any change in frequency, in the distance, in the weight of the animal, the resistance, the amount of feathering, for example, for the poultry or the wool for the sheep, and also the amount of fat, subcutaneous fat or the fat, because fat contain less water if we compare with meat. So the fat will contain less water than the meat. So if, for example, the subcutaneous fat is high, that means the probability to the current to pass is not like if there is no thick layer of subcutaneous fat for goats, for example. So it will lead to mortality rates and may reach values that cannot be tolerated in terms of the requirements of Islamic law. So officially, most Islamic countries, unfortunately, have a meat law with the following data, but all imported meat shipments must, this following that is all imported meat shipments must be accompanied by a health certificate. But in reality, in the practice, there is no law regulates halal certificate. And then for your information, as we know, halal is more than just a halal motto, but it's a testimony to be held accountable in the hereafter, and a guarantee of quality, safety, and hygiene for all. We are talking about all, not just Muslims, all human beings. So before I finish my presentation, I have just maybe some recommendation or some comments or suggestion. First, we should establish mandatory real halal law for importing to Islamic countries. And before this one, I think we need to harmonize the standards among the world, because this one make confusion. And then this weak issue in the halal certificate or halal standard will make the people who want to produce with their stunning, they can penetrate from this weak point. Also, unification of fatwas related to halal supported by correct evidence. We need to gather mufti, educate them, give them some training, workshops, some outlines about what is the outline of scientific work, what we want to, what is the need for this one, why is the need for this one. Of course, when we merge science with Sharia, the fatwa will cover more part, and then it will be more strong. Additionally, we need to spreading halal awareness among consumers in importing countries. Yani, we need them to educate them. They should not consume any type of imported materials or imported products without seeing, visualizing the logo, halal logo. And they should be sure that this logo is not fake. Because nowadays, we hear in the media, in the news, many times they make some fake logos to just pass this, their products to the consumers. And also, packed meat should have a clearly marked information, whether it's stunned or not. I mean, this one should be required from the exporter. The exporter should put in their labeling or brand, this meat has been stunned. Once it's be compulsory for the exporter, so it's easy for the consumer to recognize this one. And maybe there is another technical suggestion. We need, unfortunately, from my viewing some of the slaughterhouses in many countries, I found that the tools that they use, I mean halal slaughterhouse who perform halal slaughtering, unfortunately, there is no harmonization in the tools that we use. For example, I'm talking about, for example, the knife. The tools to do slaughtering, they should be, I mean, we should put the correct or the optimum tools for slaughtering. Yani, I think some of you also read what I read about one research with from Temple Grandin and Joe Mac Registine, that they found when they use the sharp knife, the animal did not feel the time when the time of neck incision. Maybe because of the sharp knife. I think this one maybe we can give the example to the human being. When you do shaving using you do shaving, sometimes you do not feel that you already wound your face. But when you see the blood in your face, then you recognize that you already wound. So the same idea. So please, we need as a halal certifiers, halal industry players, education, we need to focus on how to prepare good tools and tools for slaughtering the animal. With this, I end my presentation. I hope I did not make it long. I hope I add something. Thank you very much for listening. May Allah bless all of us. Jazakumullah al-khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.